Hello, Raylene. We all missed you. Welcome back into the fold. Getting ready to get back into full-time channeling, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm fine. And how do we get in touch with you?
My website is www.angelicastrologicalguidance911.com. It's really long, I know.
That's okay.
But
all you have to do is bookmark it, people. That's all you got to do.
okay.
All right. Well, thank you for agreeing to the session. And we're going to hopefully have once a month, that's as you can do. And, if you're able to do that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to Eric. Hi, Eric. I love you.
He says, hello, Mama. He loves you very much. He's doing this with his hands. He's got a plan over here. He's really excited.
Are you excited to have Raylene back? Oh, go ahead.
Yes, he says he is, but he's excited to communicate with you. He's got two people here with him. He's got a male and a female. This is going to be Plato, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife, his significant other.
Oh, really? Well, thank you for bringing Plato and his spouse, significant other in, because we want to ask you, Plato, about your knowledge about Atlantis. Now, I don't know how this came up, but we have questions from the community. I did not know that there was a relationship between Plato and Atlantis. That's how far off I am today, but that's okay because we're all in here learning. So can I go ahead and ask the questions, Mr. Plato? Is it Mr. Plato? Is it like share? You only have one name. What's the deal here?
He's very proper.
I can imagine, and I'm not being very proper.
You don't have to be proper, he says. He says this is his personality, his demeanor that's coming through. You can feel free to ask all the questions that you want. He will do his best to answer them and to acknowledge them in a correct way. He's got like this huge book, and it almost reminds me of like a Bible, something that has all of his he's saying his memories in.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's start. I'm just going to read them off. Each of these are from different community members. Roger Spur of Mud Fossil University on YouTube believes that Atlantis is the eye of the giant fish that he shows everyone on Google Earth that's located in the African Sahara. And the giant dragon above the fish that killed the fish is still there. Is Roger correct? I guess what?
No.
Okay. Was the giant dragon, were there dragons alive during your time here on Earth?
What we would identify with as a dragon, he's showing a creature that has the ability to look similar to the dragon, but very different. And the fire breathing out of the mouth is mythical. There's almost like an energetic, more energy that comes from the mouth versus fire. But it does create some form of heat.
Interesting. Oh, that's fascinating. That seems so true. Are the dragons, were they like remnants of dinosaurs, the ones that weren't killed during the big extinction?
No, but the structure of them is very dinosaur-like. They were not around during dinosaur time. He's saying that that's a different species. You know how music has genres? There's like hip hop, there's country, and we have like the 60s, we have the 80s. He's showing it almost like a music time frame of how things evolve. That would have been before dinosaurs.
Oh, before. Okay. Are they interdimensional? Or were they?
Yeah.
Are there any left on Earth?
Yes.
Wow. So they're interdimensional, like Bigfoot. They can come in and out from their dimension to ours. They probably don't want to come into our dimension.
Yeah, and he's talking about, since we brought up dinosaurs, he's talking about like explosions and catastrophes that would affect the physical Earth, the 3D Earth. That does not affect the dimensional plane.
Oh.
It affects them to a point where they are experiencing like a shift, kind of like an earthquake, but not in the sense of how 3D things get knocked down and go underwater and things like that nature.
Interesting. Any buried treasure still to be discovered there? Where is Atlantis? Okay, where is Atlantis? Let's just start with that.
So he's showing me what I would consider like where Egypt is in that area, but it's very large. It's not like a city. This is going to be like a country that I'm looking at. So I can't say, you know, it's located where Egypt is because it's very large. It almost reminds me of like China, but not where China
Oh,
is.
that
Is
big?
that, yeah, and it's not just one city. I've got to go with like a country.
Oh, so there are parts of it that are obviously underwater. Is Egypt part of Atlantis, of what Atlantis was then? I mean, that area?
Yeah,
And yet,
that
okay, so, all right. Was it fresh? Wait. Oh, in any buried treasures there at all? Still to be discovered, or is it still just all dirt now? And obviously seabed.
he says, well, the remnants of it is treasures in my words. If you are talking about something that you would consider valuable with money, yes, there's treasures, but I wouldn't say it's buried by somebody's doing. It's buried by the earth.
Oh, okay. What caused all of the water to drain off westward into the Atlantic Ocean? Earthquakes? A broken natural dam? What?
Similar to an earthquake, he's showing like the plates of the earth moving.
Oh,
There's a big shift. An earthquake is what we can identify with, but he's using a catastrophe similar to an earthquake. He's explaining that we haven't experienced it. We don't have a word for it right now because it's not something that the earth has experienced, that type of catastrophe. An earthquake would be the thing that we can identify with, but it's a million times larger than an earthquake.
wow.
He's
Okay.
showing like
A
onyx,
natural
the
shift. Yeah,
shifting.
that's fascinating. How do you know about Atlantis, Plato?
This is where his wife comes into place, his significant other. He was looking for some type of protection, something that would be able to, he's showing me like a form of protection, and it was for the female that's here. And it was already built. He was trying to have something created. It was something that he found, and it became like his sanctuary in a sense, a form of protection. He found like a new civilization. It is not something that he created or anything like that. It was already created. And what he was looking for was a form of protection. And he also was looking for something to identify with. He shows himself being almost like a lost individual, not really sure of what he was, who he was. And Atlantis accepted him, and he identified with beings from there. He's not showing me like humans like me and you. I'm seeing like almost like a superhuman, or something that is part what we would consider alien and part human. And I'm not saying like alien like extraterrestrial like how sci-fi presents it. It's just something that's not human.
All right, like maybe an alien hybrid, like a Pleiadians and human hybrid or something?
Yes, but a different species in terms of alien. You know how we identify with the term alien
Yeah,
and say Palladians or Arcturians. We kind of have like a visual in our mind for that. This
right.
is a different visual. It's almost like a race that have more animal features to them versus human features.
Like Lyrians, for example, cat-like.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So wait, why did you feel like you needed to find protection?
For the female that is here, she was mortal.
Okay. Was she about to die? Was she ill?
No, you know how there's it wasn't a relationship that could have been had. It was something that had to be secretive from the place that he was originally from. It's almost like racism, how he's trying to explain it. He couldn't be with that race, that species, because of rules or regulations. And so he was trying to find a place where they can be together and be protected.
Was she human?
Yes.
Where did you come from? Are you Plato? Were you not human?
So she had two different things with her. Part of it was human, and part of it would have been like alien, a different race.
Okay.
Yes, he was human, more human than she was.
Oh.
But he didn't have, you know how we have like a lifespan? We
Yeah.
don't know when we're going to be dying. He was almost connected to what he was supposed to do, when he was supposed to die, when he was going to have like events that would happen, but he wouldn't know everything like piece by piece, which is why he knew that he had to find protection. He knew that there was something coming forward, almost like intuition, but intuition times a million.
Oh. All right. So did you say, well, I'm going to find a place called Atlantis. I'm going to walk over there and meet. How did that whole thing? What made you decide to? Did you physically go there, or did you virtually, or project your consciousnesses over there? Or what?
No, he physically went there. He knew that he was looking for it. He knew there was something that. Now, he didn't know that it was Atlantis. He didn't know that it was going to be civilized to the extent that it was, but he knew that there was a safe place for him to be. It was something kind of like embedded in him. And so he was searching for that place. He's showing tangibly traveling.
Okay.
I'm looking at like through water. I'm looking at through feet. I don't see any sense of like a car like we now have it.
No.
I do see a form of transportation, but it's on water, and
Oh.
it's not a boat like we have here. It looks like something that's square. It's not circle, but it has more of like a triangle, but it's not as pointy. It's more
Okay. But it's
circle.
a kind of boat, but not
Yeah.
one. Okay. All right. Was there fresh water at the time that surrounded Atlantis?
Yes, but the ocean was not fresh water.
Of course not. All right. Was it tropical in your time in the northeast African part of Atlantis?
Yes.
Well, so many people say that, Atlantis is like where the Bermuda Triangle is, or the Atlantic Ocean. So that's all false?
No, because it's so large that it's split up into different areas.
Oh, I see. I have to look at a map. All right. Is the Richat, Richat structure, Richat, in northwest Africa's Sahara Desert, the remains of the actual city, or I guess country, of Atlantis?
Yes.
So it's all of northern Africa and beyond, into the Atlantic Ocean, into the Pacific Ocean. So,
Yes, but he shows when the catastrophe happened, things shifted. And so where they're at right now, resting, was not necessarily where their actual home was.
okay.
But yes, to answer the question.
Did you have other lifetimes in Atlantis? You and your wife?
Yes.
What about your wife?
Yes.
Wow, interesting.
He shows the both of them being like royal or some type of like god or goddess in connection to that area, both with the life that they lived and then also other lifetimes. He's showing like signing of papers, like rules and regulations that were put into place because of their relationship.
Mm. Okay. So were you there before or after this massive earthquake-like incident?
Both.
Oh, wow. Wow. How did you survive were you on the part that didn't go into water? Is that where you were living then?
So he's talking about the different lifetimes of being connected to the both of them.
Oh,
Not
okay.
the same lifetime. He's showing that he did experience like catastrophe shifting of Atlantis, but he wasn't physically killed because of it.
Well, your life as Plato, actually the human Plato, was that after the catastrophe or before?
Before.
Okay. Who was the person who actually taught you the story of Atlantis, and how did they know?
So he's going back and forth. And believe it's because we are asking him about his other lifetimes that are connected to it.
Yeah.
He's showing that he had like a knowing of Atlantis because he knew he had been there.
Yeah. So that's the way.
Yeah.
The neighbor didn't say, "Hey, I got a story for you. You got to check it out." All right.
There
I
was
didn't realize we have 42 questions. Oh my God. I didn't realize it's on double sides of the page. All right. So
there's
how old
of it.
how
Sorry,
old
he's
say that again?
things of it. He's showing like a Bible, you know how you learn from
Yeah.
a Bible about history. Well, he had something very similar that taught him about it. So yes, to answer that question.
Well, who wrote that Bible-like book?
Ancestors and himself. He's showing himself being a big part of it, being a big part of creating it.
Interesting. How old or ancient was Atlantis at the time when you wrote its story down? Oh, that's you writing in that book. Okay.
How do I put a time frame on this? This is beyond like thousands of years. It's
Okay.
got so many different
300,
time frames that
like
you show.
in the hundreds of thousands, in the millions, in the
Hundreds of thousands.
oh wow, I bet that sounds right. What was the exact cause of the destruction? We talked about that. How long did the destruction take? Was it bam or was it slow? And also, did Atlantis get destroyed because it became too power hungry? Or was it just natural?
So it took a thousands of years before it had its big boom. He's showing little catastrophes like just earthquakes that would happen that would separate it. And so say like if we have islands like Hawaii, Kauai, like the different islands,
Yeah.
it's something that was divided into multiples over time. And so it started out as one and then became several different identities, still several different powers, several different kings, queens, goddesses, and gods that would run it, kind of like presidential stuff.
Okay.
He's showing that there were people that would take good things and turn them into bad things, power oriented crystals, things that have like some type of energy to it, some type of energetic force, and use it for bad, use it for ill intention. And it almost started like a war with themselves.
Yeah. Between the different islands, so to speak.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so that kind of happened slowly, but then was there one event that boom, a bunch of it sunk underwater, like over the matter of hours or days?
Yes, this would have been days, but catastrophe hit, people died instantaneously.
Yeah.
But for the land to actually be done for, that was a matter of days.
Wow.
And it was something that the people knew was coming. They can see, they can sense, they were connected to the waters, they were connected to the land, they were connected to when the food was ready to eat. It was something that was very instinctual for them. And so that there was an instinct in them of knowing that there was going to be an ending coming, and they knew that they were the cause of it because of what looks like mining to me, causing damage to the ground itself.
Whoa. Okay.
For things like crystals,
Rare.
this looks like oil to me, like some type of liquid.
Okay. Interesting. All right. They say many Atlanteans have taken birth in this day, I mean, incarnated, I guess, day and age, to repeat the lesson of how we use technology appropriately. Is that true?
Yes.
What can we do differently to avoid repeating history and correct our lesson? Stop using technology for harm, maybe?
Stop using technology in the way that we are, period. He says stop, like the Wi-Fi connections, the vehicles, because we're not using it in a manner that is safe for the physical body or safe for the earth. He's talking about like what I would consider radiation, some type of harmful EMFs.
Okay. Was Noah and the Great Flood part of the Atlantis ending?
No.
Okay. Okay, some of these are repeat. Where was Atlantis located, the continent and capital city? Where is the capital city of Atlantis? Around Egypt? Like
That would be the main location.
Okay. Okay, so if people were to know where to excavate, could they find Atlantean civilization ruins, artifacts, things like that around Egypt and around Egypt?
Yes, and he's saying that it's currently being done right now.
Okay. Are some of us descendants of the Atlanteans?
The majority of us are.
Wow. Did the survivors settle in Western Europe and Africa, like Ireland, Spain, Egypt? And
yes.
where are some of these, the biggest number of survivors? Where are they now?
They are in the afterlife. He's funny.
No, but there's the actual descendants, the ones who did survive. Where are most of them now?
In the time frame of Atlantis, he says none of them are currently alive on Earth in the form that they were during that time.
Oh, so we are all descendants of Atlanteans, but spiritual DNA you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We're Atlanteans human. Well, we talked about that. Are the elongated skulls found in Peru, are they Atlanteans?
Yes.
Is there any Anunnaki there? In the blood of Atlanteans?
Yes, he says the Anunnaki, their history is confused. We are confused about their history. There's more to them than we understand. He says we have labeled it very closely, but our label is off a little bit.
Okay.
They identify with more superhuman versus human.
Yeah. Okay. Are they Inkies, Anunnaki, the nice Anunnaki, or Enlil, the icky one?
There's good and there's bad.
Okay. What is the relationship between ancient Egypt and Atlantis, Mr. Plato?
They were connected.
Okay.
He shows like working together, farming, food, trading, like sustaining life. It's almost like they had exchanged things, but were connected as one instead of two different.
Okay, interesting. So, well, I mean, there is some evidence, or I think, if I remember from the Gaia channel, that the Anunnakis were helping ancient Egyptians with technology and so forth. So is this like the Atlantean type Anunnaki hybrids?
Yes.
Are they are the Atlanteans that were in and around ancient Egypt, are they Anunnaki human hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. The only known records of Atlantis' existence are in 2 dialogues of Plato. But is there any physical evidence left? And if so, where could they be found? Where could it be found?
He says that there has been physical evidence. However, to answer the question, underwater, our people like to argue with a fact that is presented in front of them, and they are denying what they are seeing, is what he's explaining. But there has been tangible physical evidence of the way that they would like cook their pans, items that showed civilization, that show that it was being used to help sustain life in some form of way.
Interesting. Are the pyramids that are underneath the ocean off the coast of Cuba, are those part of Atlantis?
Yes.
Oh, that must have been huge.
And that there is part of the evidence that he's explaining is being denied and not being credited for what it is.
Well, then if so much of it was above ground, I mean, it's huge, massive continent, what parts of the current continents were underwater? Because I mean, there's only a certain set ocean. So
But what all underwater to begin with, he's showing like catastrophes taking little by little, and that's what placed it underwater. But this was something that was all above water. It was all land. So nothing was actually underwater to begin with. He's showing beings being I want to say like mermaid, but I don't see like a fish tail or anything like that, but being able to come in and out of water, living under and living on land as well, or being able to stay under for long periods of time without coming up air or without needing air.
Well, that's interesting because this is the question too. Did the mythical creatures like hybrids and giants come from, and perhaps the thing that you're describing, come from genetic experience during the times of Atlantis?
No, not genetic experiments, but more of 2 different races mating together.
Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. It seems like there were more interdimensional beings in those times. Is that true? Why? Was it easier to cross dimensions back then, or?
There was no so he's explaining it like as there being a one way, you can go this direction and not the other direction. Kind of like when you drive downtown. He says there was no directional of do not enter or do enter. It was kind of come and go as you please. Humans and other races were well aware that these were energy portals to access a different world. If a human wanted to enter, they could. There wasn't something that was stopping them. If a different species, I'm having a hard time using the word interdimensional because he's identifying it with more of they were almost equal with one another and didn't label each other differently. And that is why there was so much mating between the different races, and that's what created
other races with other races. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what really created the beings of Atlantis. Those beings had more of what I would say like power to them, more when I say like power, like the ability to actually move something with their thoughts, the ability to create something and have it in front of them, that type of power.
Telepathy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What parallels could you identify between our current times and the ending times of Atlantis, if any? Is there a parallel?
Our astral plane. He's talking about the astral plane being parallel.
Okay. All right. How long will it take us to get back to the advanced level that Atlantis was at before it got destroyed?
So the advanced level is not something that's going to happen. If it was something that would happen, it would be hundreds of thousands of years
Yeah.
from now. But he says that the energy of it was not something that our 3D Earth is built for.
Okay.
That's what causes like the platonics to shift,
Oh, yeah.
because there was too much force that pulled it.
Mm.
He says we know things that, he's talking about people in power know things that people that are not in power do not know,
Oh.
such as higher technology, ways of communicating in a faster way with one another. He's not showing like a phone line, like, hey, how you doing? He's showing more of like a direct communication, like telepathic, and how people can access that type of energy. People can learn this type of energy. He says that it's already something that is embedded in our DNA.
Hmm.
It's just something that we have been deprogrammed.
All right. So there's certain leaders that have that knowledge, then you're saying.
The knowledge and the abilities, yes.
Okay. Was Atlantis and Atlanteans, were they not 3D? Were they 4D or 5D, something like that?
Yes. Higher, like we would go with 5D.
Okay.
I'm seeing people move their bodies like with thought.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Were those people in the mysterious Aryan, mysterious Aryan type people that helped advance cultures from the Far East to Europe after the fall of Atlantis? I don't, the question is not grammatically correct, but were these the so-called Aryan types, were they Atlanteans that were helped to advance certain cultures from the Far East to Europe after the fall of Atlantis?
He says that they were helpful, but not in the sense of technology, no, but helpful.
So the Aryans, that this mysterious people, were they Atlanteans that just happened to not be in Atlantis when it was destroyed?
Yes.
Okay. Are some of the Greco-Roman style buildings like Capitol buildings and cathedrals in America left over from Atlantis? Or did settlers really build these immaculate European style buildings in the 1800s? I mean, were they modeled after Atlantean buildings?
The structure was mimicked, is what he's explaining.
Okay. Was it because the architects, etc., were channeling their inner Atlantean, or I mean, how did that come about?
No, it was something that was seen and rebuilt. He's showing like part of this being original structure, and then part of it being added.
Okay. Were cathedrals, Capitol buildings, this might be the same, temples, gilded age mansions, obelisks, rotundas, star forts, and other buildings with sacred geometry, a part of a free energy grid system that took energy from the atmosphere and also used organ pianos with divine frequencies in the cathedrals as healing devices and for creating living water of the past that was once used in Atlantis. Oh, that's a mouthful. Were some of these buildings, okay, they had the sacred geometry, and you see it in buildings everywhere, sacred geometry.
Yes, and he's showing a number of different symbols, and like the symbols being used as like a key,
yeah,
to open an energy way.
Oh,
Was
so,
used for
to be used for healing?
Yes.
And creating living water. I don't even know what that is.
Water that is alive, water. So he's explaining that all water is life, has some form of form to it, but the water had an identity. And say if somebody was sick with like a cold, you would drink water that would identify with healing of respiratory. It had life forms in it to do that.
Okay, interesting. Are there any genetic survivors of Atlantis alive today? Now, okay, so maybe they weren't on Atlantis. Maybe they were in another area of the world. but they're Atlantean. They just went on a business trip, maybe. And are there any of those?
Not that were around during the time of catastrophe, but DNA, like something that would be an ancestor. Yes, he says, you and I have DNA that links back to it, but we were not physically experiencing it, but our ancestors had experienced it. Yes.
Well,
And so that
the people who were actually on Atlantis, the Atlanteans that were on Atlantis during that disaster, there are no survivors genetically. But if there were some that, were in the south of Spain, the southern Spain on a little trip or whatever, or immigrated to
different dimension,
pardon me?
even some that were in a different dimension
Yeah.
that didn't get impacted by the damage. Yes, there were.
Okay, where are most of them? Those ancestors, the ancestors of those that did not die and weren't in Atlantis during the disaster.
He's showing them being interdimensional.
Okay.
They're not alive.
Okay.
It's like we have ancestors here that are in interdimensions that have human qualities to them and other hybrid races.
Okay. All right. What civilizations did business with Atlantis?
All civilizations did. He's showing people getting along, not in the sense that, how we have like Russia, China, Ukraine, United States. We were not divided the way that yous are now. There was dividing being done, but we didn't have better, we didn't have wealthier. We shared amongst one another.
Oh, nice. Okay. What was Atlantis known for really in its time worldwide? What was the big thing?
Gods and goddesses, powers.
Okay.
Energy.
Oh, interesting. Was Atlantis and the Great Pyramids and Göbekli Tepe, I remember, I don't know how to pronounce it, in Turkey, connected to each other in some way that we're not aware of?
No.
Was Atlantis on our current timeline, or was it visited by people of old through a time portal?
More through like the time portal. Our timeline is not anywhere near correct for it.
No. Was Atlantis as advanced as everyone thinks it was?
Yes, and more.
Were the abilities of the people of Atlantis that are being bestowed on us, the collective? No, what are the abilities of the people of Atlantis that are being bestowed on us as a collective? Any?
Yeah, our intuition, our sixth sense, things that we have been deprogrammed to use, things that is considered woo-woo or not normal. That is something that can never be taken out of our DNA, taken out of our culture or heritage. Is something that is naturally embedded. He says accessing it is our responsibility.
Okay. Is there any form of Atlantis technology that is still working on Earth right now? That not that is a secret, but that is known?
Yeah, he's showing internet, cell phones,
Okay.
technology in general. Yes, it's been tweaked by other interdimensionals, by other aliens that have helped to evolve where we are at with technology. He's talking about aliens as we would identify with an alien right now.
Right.
Their purpose of helping us is to make sure that we are not going to cause our physical humanity damage, physical earth damage.
Right.
And so they are more like an intervention for us, for humans, for Earth, to make sure we're safe.
Somebody's got to keep us in check. Did the Atlantean beings look like tall? Did the Atlantean beings look tall, talk, and walk like today's humans?
They're much larger.
Real tall. What color was their skin? Different types?
different colors. We've got white. I've got beings that look like animals. I see some with fur. I see some with
Wow.
eels. So when we identify with Atlantis, we're not identifying with humans as we know it, or even with an
Yeah.
alien as we know it, because it's something that is, we cannot identify with it, with not anything that has been drawn, even on TV. It is completely different.
Interesting. Did the Atlanteans reach out and colonize numerous other continents and places, instructing the pyramid building, for example?
Yes.
Okay, is that what they did around Cuba, or was that part of Atlantis sunk, or was it, hey, let's go help these Cubans? No, they didn't know about Cubans.
He's laughing with you, but he's showing Egypt being part of
Okay.
structures that were built. And again, like, he's having a hard time with identifying it with being owned by different individuals. That didn't happen right away. They were considered as one.
Wow. Okay. Are extraterrestrials from spirit world or physical world, or both? And did they form Atlantis?
No, they did not form Atlantis.
No, form Atlantis itself. Did the
No.
extraterrestrials from spirit or physical create Atlantis?
Nope.
Okay.
No. He says that there are extraterrestrials that are interdimension. They're alive. They're not from spirit world. If you are connecting with an extraterrestrial in spirit, it's because they're dead.
Oh,
But he said that they have their own dimension. Some of them have like a 3D dimension, like you and I do here on Earth,
yeah.
and some of them have an energetic dimension.
Okay, interesting. Just a few more questions, mostly about Plato, yourself, sir. Plato, what was your favorite food back then?
Fish.
Yes, I knew it. How many children did you have, if you had children?
He had children. He's showing me 4.
Okay. Did you barter for goods back then, or did you have coins? Both, maybe.
No, there wasn't a form of money, coins.
Okay.
This is like gold. This is making something by hand,
Okay.
exchanging of goods,
Okay.
food, changing, like say if bananas were grown in one part of their town
Okay.
and another country, for example, couldn't have the bananas, they would exchange
Oh,
food.
cool. Have you reincarnated here today?
Mhm. Yes.
If so, are you anyone we know? Or you just keep it a low profile?
He shows he is somebody who is in power. He doesn't want to identify who
Yeah, I
he
know.
is.
No, I know, but somebody in power. Are you
Yes.
good or bad? I mean, we've all been good and we've all been bad in many lifetimes.
His intention is peace while he's here on Earth. So he
Okay.
could himself to be good. He's, I would say, like in the government, high up there.
Okay. Can you tell us more about your relationship with Aristotle, other than being a mentor and a teacher? And I got 2 more after this, and that's it. Can't believe you finished 40.
The protector.
Protector?
He was somebody that brought like laws into place so that way races could be together, races could mate together, races could live together, and people wouldn't have to seek out like a being protected, or people wouldn't have to worry about having crime done to them because they're with so you know how there's whites and there's blacks, and how at one point blacks would have to sit at like the end of a bus or have to use different bathrooms.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying that it was very similar, where he came and he brought laws into place to where everybody can be more equal and one
Aristotle did, or you did?
together.
Okay. All right. According to some accounts, it's really not known how you died. How did you pass away?
he's showing me a drowning. Water was
Okay.
the cause of his death, but it does look like there was force behind it. So it wasn't like him falling into water.
And you're not talking about water like congestive heart failure. You're talking about, wow.
Drowning.
How
being
old were you?
under. I would have to say about 60 years of age.
Okay. Oh, wow. What do you think, Plato, about postmodern philosophy? What would your message be to philosophers in our times?
He's saying not to live by a certain label, not to live by like somebody else's label, not to live by what society says you should live by, not to look like what society says you should look like. He says, but to live by your own rules.
Your own authentic self.
Yeah.
Exactly. Any other advice before we close?
Not from him, but his wife.
And thank you. I don't know what your name is, but it's okay. Plato's wife. Thank you for joining us. But what do you have to say?
She says, thank you for having her, first off. And she is giving a message to both male and female. And she wants them to know that being feminine and being masculine doesn't identify you with your person. If you are masculine in a female body, or if you are feminine in a male body, she's telling you to identify with what you feel like you are, and not to be afraid of judgment, and not to be afraid of being who you truly are. She's saying that part of the reason why she came in the way that she did, I'm showing both of them like having two different races, two different breeds, and not being able to live together comfortably.
Yeah.
She says that she was changing the way I don't know how to say it. She was changing the way that what we would consider society would say we could do or what we couldn't do was her goal. And it still is. And this is why her message is to be who you are, identify with who you are, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of judgment, and don't do what society is telling you to do. There's a lot of people that are coming into this world right now that are identifying with like transgender.
Was she transgender? Or was she a biological female but identified as a male, or vice versa?
Vice versa. And not so much male, female, but identified with like a different identity. And I think male, female is the only way to explain it, but that's still not cutting it.
Yeah. Gender fluid, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything
It's
else?
It's more than just past like the gender identity, because it's like personality identity too.
Oh, okay. All right. So just be who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be you and own it. Anything else, guys? And Eric, you want to add anything?
Nope. Erik says that he loves you very much. He misses
I
you.
I love you. Come visit.
He's gonna be eating dinner with you.
Good. All right. And thank you so much. Welcome back, Raylene. And we'll put the website in the description box, you guys. Be sure you subscribe and share and smash the notification bell, guys. Love you all. Love you, Raylene.
Thank you. Love you lots. It was nice seeing you.
Same. Bye.